This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. Here we're looking at the beautiful sunrise. Looks like it's gonna be a bit of a cloudy for now. And I think this is how it's gonna stay, or it's gonna burn up. Welcome aboard to your very own safari through African bush. Good morning again, everyone. So here at Djuma Private Game Reserve, as you can see, we're looking actually on the eastern part of the reserve, where it's slightly cloud in that direction. That's where there's a mountain. It's called the Bombo Mountain. It's probably easy to actually have a cloud begin from there. And I'm Andrew on camera. I have Simon this morning. So we decided, actually I'm in an area where I actually find the Tlalambone kill. But it's been a lot of hyena tracks in this area, and I don't want to walk down there again, until maybe later. Maybe she's been disturbed, and anyway, we can't drive in there, that I know for sure, but I'm going to drive roads here just to see, what's going on. I know Lorraine, she's actually following up on a lever track, so I'm wondering if it's the same track as well. And remember to talk to us this morning using kids questions at wildearth.tv, as well as on #WildEarth, as well as at FC YouTube channel and wildearth.tv/an-explorer. This is how we're going to be talking to you. We're able to share with this information with you guys back there. And the temperature of the day today, we're standing on 24 degrees 75 Fahrenheit, which, well, it's still great for animals to able to move, especially cats. And when it's still cloudy, not hot, they're more likely to be on the road because the dews over the grasses is still wet. So we're just gonna check. I'm gonna check Gary Dam and then I'll come back, check the western sector of quarantine. Been a lot of impala all get around, so I'm not sure if they heard anything that worries them, or they're just planning to do that. But usually when they're not too sure about anything around, they're more likely to be together. So while I'm crawling down there, I'm going to be sending you over to Lauren with her hyena.
Good morning, everyone. I already have my spots, and it's a very active den this morning. Mr. Swazi is here. He's already been to say hello, and he's already causing trouble, as usual. My name is Lauren, and I do have Marcel on camera once again. And who do we have here? I'm just going to reposition my body because they're all coming to the car. Yes. Hello, everyone. Why are you so inquisitive? We've got Hart and her little two who are suckling in a strange position. We've got Swazi, and the two big boys at my car are Shimbulu and Ngwazi. I want to get a good look at the way Shimbulu's walking, but I think his little limp is improving. No sign of Ntima, which is rather unfortunate. I did check Philemon's Den number 1, which is really overgrown. It's completely overgrown. There's nothing in there that could be hyena related, 100%. Den number 2 looks perfect, but I haven't seen any activity there in a long time, so I don't think she's using there. But luckily, Den 1 and Den 2 is en route when you drive to Den 3. So you can check them every day because you pass them anyway to get here. Hello, Swazi. Nope. Oh, goodness, our car must smell wonderful. I can't think what it smells like, but it must be wonderful. I just wanted to stop in here for a little while, and then I am also going to go on a bit of a leopard search. But if we can spend time at the den before it gets too hot, then that's exactly what we'll do. Oh, Shambulu's walking much better. Much, much, much better. His little back right leg. Still limping, but it's healing. Okay, so I'm going to stay here and enjoy this scene a little bit longer, but it looks like Grant has already found his leopard.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to Ambion Pinder Private Game Reserve. And look at what we found. And it's the same leopard that we were with yesterday afternoon, early in the afternoon, so it's the Ntabankosi female. And we actually found her on the road, not too far from here, about 50 meters down the road, and we followed her until she climbed up into the tree. My name is Grant, and behind the camera this morning is Owen. And yeah, not too far away from where she was yesterday afternoon, we found her on the road heading in this direction. She's just grooming herself a little bit. And so I heard when we got back to the camp yesterday that this leopard had actually caught a little warthog piglet. And so after we had left her, some of the guys that were watching her, she walked over to a little thicket and or patch of grass under that tree, and she just picked up this little warthog piglet and started feeding. And so straight out the lodge this morning, I thought, let's come and have a look. Maybe she's still around. And there's some water nearby. And my guess is that she's making herself properly comfortable now. My guess is that just before we found her, she was drinking. Yay, spots, I agree, Carol. It's always nice to start your day off with some spots. And even better up in a tree. And the tree that she's in, there was a question yesterday for those of you that were with us, asking, do leopards have favorite trees? And this is one of those few trees that I mentioned yesterday that this leopard likes to climb up into. And we've seen her up in this tree on a number of occasions. It's quite a tricky tree to get a view of her, but for her, you can imagine it's perfect. It's got this really thick canopy, and if you look at the branches where she's almost lying in a little nest there. There's a few branches that go out horizontally from the same spot, and it's almost like a little cup that she's lying in there. Oh, Jamie, thank you. I didn't even mention what tree it is. This is a Transvaal saffron that she's climbed up into. We can identify it by looking at the bark. It's got that sort of greyish coloured bark. And then the branches are, so it's got that main stem that goes up, and then a few big branches that split off from that main stem, and then from there those branches split again and into the tiny little twigs that the leaves grow from, and the twigs that the leaves grow from make almost like a big tangle. It's quite difficult to make out the different branches from one another, and then those small little bright green leaves are also one of the ways that we can identify it. Okay, everyone, so we're just gonna see if maybe we can get another little window of her through the canopy of this tree. And you're gonna go across to Lauren with a hyena that's chewing on a branch.
Chewing, I am not sure I would say... Sorry, I've got hyenas all around the car. Chewing more than absolutely destroying this poor log here. Swazi has just decided that this log needs to be taken apart. He stopped. He scrunched through an entire branch. And all 5 cubs are out. Of course, June's little one is not, but all the other ones are out and about and causing trouble. I don't imagine they'll stay out for too long. I think it's going to get quite hot quite quickly. I could be wrong. And once the temperatures soar, you generally find that they go back into the den. And Swazi was 2 in September, so he's now 2 and 3 months. So he's at dispersal age. He really could disperse. But it depends on area, development, females, resources, as to when he will actually disperse, if he actually disperses. His mother, Prissy, was said to be second from the top, or so we thought. Second in charge after Corks, but her and Corks had a very good relationship. Now we all want this stick. Oh my goodness. This stick has been here for months, but now we all want to eat it. If there's any action happening, Corky's daughter has to be right there in the middle. Big brother Swazi's eating it, so will we. Leopard! Something you're saying, I am the hyena whisperer. I've just had a lot of luck this time. I think it's because I love them so much. My energy draws them out. But yes, thank you. I just love spending time with them. And these sticks were originally placed as sort of a guiding to the parking bays. We have allocated spots where we're allowed to park here. Don't worry, we don't park any closer or any further away. There's allocated spots to allow 3 vehicles in. And that's what these logs are. Because when all these little cubs were much, much smaller, it was a far more sensitive sighting, and therefore there was limited number of vehicles and just cautions put in place. But it seems that Swazi is going to eat the entire log, and there will be no more parking bays. But yes, we've been very lucky with hyenas this time around. I went through a phase of not being lucky, but I think it's just great to have them all around the den. We got to see Ntima last night. And speculate as you will, but there was definitely pronounced nipples, and they looked slightly wet to me. And I really think we could have more cubbies joining the clan very soon. And Tima might bring them here a little bit earlier because of who her mom is. But she's definitely not using Philemon's Den 1, 2. That's for sure. I don't think there's going to be anything left of this log very soon. Diana, their hyenas are promiscuous. And they are actually very secretive about their mating, which is rather unusual because they're not secretive about anything else, including their presence in our camp. And the females will mate with many different males, and it's just not really seen. It's not a prolonged mating bout like the cats. It's not as vocal as the cats. And why is that? It's because of their unique genitalia. Let's face it, it's utterly bizarre and slightly tricky to mate. It's not the usual genitalia, shall we say, of mammals, and therefore it leaves them in a bit of a tricky spot, literally. The male has to really squat and get behind the female. And it's not easy for him. He's got quite a tricky task ahead, and both the genitalia actually swell, and it leaves them in a copulatory lock. And therefore, if a predator was to come or danger was to present itself, they would not be able to... I'm just going to keep my eye on Swazi here. He's a bit too familiar sometimes. There we go. Yes, if danger was to present itself, they would not be able to separate themselves easily because their genitals have swollen together. And it leaves them extremely vulnerable. And that's exactly why they're secretive about it. They'll go off into the thicket and they're quiet when they mate. So we really don't see it. I think the guys in the Masai Mara got very lucky, but it's not a common occurrence to see hyenas mate. So who the father is, we could only speculate. But females do tend to choose the males that have been loyal the longest. They call this tenure. So if a male is sort of not at the top of the hierarchy, I don't know if I would use that phraseology, but he's a male that's been around the longest and he's proven himself, the females will be very attracted to that and they will prefer him. The study also shows that females prefer males their own age, believe it or not. They also prefer males that are very submissive. They don't like aggressive males. So you've got to sort of prove yourself constantly to the females, and you've also got to be very submissive. And if you are, well, that's going to get you in a good place. They also prefer immigrant males. They don't want to mate with their natal clan males, although they possibly have a close bond with the natal clan males. In terms of genetics, that's not a good idea. So they prefer immigrant males, new genes, males that have been here longer, males that are of a similar age, and submissive, less aggressive males. And tenure, time with the clan, is basically endurance rivalry. That's what we call it in ecology. The guy who can stick out the abuse the longest wins. Who can stick out the abuse from the females the longest? They're going to win the ladies. And this is called endurance rivalry. So there is a sort of ranking order in males, but it's not really a hierarchy. It's normally the males that have been here the longest to sort of win the favors with the females, because it's just almost like loyalty. They know this male, they trust this male, he's submissive. It works slightly different for males, but there definitely is a ranking system. If you're new, if you're an immigrant male and you just joined the Juma clan, you're going to be right at the bottom. They are not going to be familiar with you. They don't know you. It's going to take a while for you to really, really get in there with the ladies. You've got to really prove yourself. It's not easy, actually. Marcel, I'm not sure if we can zoom into Shambulu's right leg, sorry. Yes, perfect. It's looking much better. It's not as swollen, and he is putting weight on it. Maybe not full weight. Can you see the injury? There you go. You can see it. It's got a huge gash. I wonder what got him. That's why he's limping. He's been bit somewhere, I think, on that bone, if you like. On that ankle bone. Okay, we're going to sit here a little bit longer and enjoy all the entertainment these hyenas are providing.
Right, everyone, look what we got here at Gari Dam. Looks like a squawko heron. Just going to take a moment of a silence here. Just listen to this area, what's happening. So I'm gonna go move forward to see if I can find our leopard again. So hopefully we get lucky.
Okay guys, so we're still here and we've gone completely around the tree, and this is the best little window that we can find to get a view or get a look at her face. And she's resting at the moment. She has been popping her head up every now and then, and when she does pop it up, then we can't see anything. Well, any of her face. So she's found a really, really comfortable spot there, and she's gone back to sleep now. So like I mentioned yesterday, she has got a relatively full belly full of food, and the night before last she had been seen doing her territorial patrol, so she's marked her territory well, and so she has no worries at the moment, other than to conserve her energy, so getting some rest up in a nice thick tree. And she's got some good cover here, because if animals had to see her up in a tree, even up in a tree where she's not, where they can keep an eye on her, they will still alarm call at her. But then also other leopards will be able to see her. And so the fact that she's found this nice thick, this tree with a nice thick canopy, there's less chance of her being spotted. But from inside there, she can still scan around and look for more potential meals and make sure that she's looking out for danger. Yes, and she is very well camouflaged up in that tree. You can see how those spots just break up her shape and almost like melt her into that tree. Her markings are very similar to the bark of the tree, and so at a quick glance at this tree, you won't be able to make her out. We're actually quite lucky that we saw her before she came up into this tree. But like I was saying earlier, we do know that she likes to climb up into this very thick tree. So when we go past, we go nice and slowly past. But when I was going around to see if we could find a nice window to view her from, we were actually battling to spot her, and I was trying to imagine being able to spot her from the road. So we think we're checking in this tree every time we drive past it, but even when I knew she was in here, it was hard to spot her. So from where we're sitting at the moment, in a straight line, we're probably about 200 meters or 300 meters away from where she was yesterday. And I think what she did was she finished off that little warthog carcass that she had, walked down into the valley, had a little drink at the pan. There's a pan system about 100 meters away from here, and then carried on to one of her regular trees. JP, that's a tough one to put an exact figure to, because of the fact that leopards can climb trees. They're quite elusive, and so climb trees, they're able to jump over the fence and move in and out of the reserve quite freely. And then the fact that they're so elusive, they're tough to find. We see tracks of them all over Phinda. We see lots of leopard tracks. And so the best way to get an idea of the number of leopards is to do a camera trap survey. So camera traps are the motion sensitive cameras that we place on roads or prominent game trails, and then they take photographs when something moves past. And the most recent camera trap survey that was done on Phinda by a company called Panthera revealed about 25 adult leopards on Phinda, 9 of which were adult males and the rest were females. And then that 25 does not include the cubs that were seen following their mom. And that survey covered about 80% of Phinda. So there's definitely more than that 25. And of course, not all the leopards were identified on that or photographed on that camera trap survey. And so it's a tough one to put a number onto. So from here we are going to send you off to Andrew. He's got an eagle of some sorts.
Thanks, Grant. So we now have here Warburg's eagle, which is easy to tell right now because we're looking at actually a paleform eagle, where you see a lot of pale on the pale of the bird all the way from the neck down. But they always come to this area, to the very spot where they usually breed around here. So this is probably all about breeding in this area, especially in this nest. But not the one right at the top. These belong to the weaver. It's probably bottom where I don't know if we're able to go in where our angle is not great actually. So it's got to be all the way down there. If you go down there again, go, see if we can get it. Yeah, right there. So this is the nest. So this is where the chosen nest for every year they come around. In the winter they actually go up northeast Africa, and then they come back this time of year for breed, where they have actually a beautiful bird. They'll go for size of scrub hares. If there's a chance of the scrub hare come out midday, they go for a very big, beautiful, big, nice size for a bird, like guinea fowls and other birds as well. And they always pair. They always breed in pair, where you cannot tell if this is the female or a male, but usually when they're together, size for a female is a lot bigger. The males are small. You always don't go mistake looking at this bird, because they sometimes show a little crest on their head, but also very dark eye kind of compared to most eagles. And they're a lot smaller as well, which their wingspan 141 centimeter. Sorania. Indeed, it is actually right. It's actually a very good big bird. The most bird of prey, they're gonna be in slightly big. I'm not sure what it's seen there. See what is looking. doing like that. Owl can do that sometimes. They wag their head and they see something they're not too sure about. So they have actually a few color. But we're looking at the paley form we're talking about. You got very dark form, and then you got kind of like a gold light brown color, still an adult, and a dark form, still an adult. Also this pale form, it's an adult we're looking at right now there. And they fly up high in the sky, especially on its hunt. And they do make a call and they're very excited to communicate. So yeah, we're still driving around this area, a few roads, and I'm going to be sending you back to Lauren with the hyena.
It's all still very active at this side. Hart was trying to have a lovely grooming moment with her. Where's that coming from? Who's whooping? I love that sound. There's other hyenas here, and because the bush is so thick and dense, they position themselves about 20 to 30 meters away from the den, but they're actually still here. So when we come here, we don't see them, but they're still here in the communal area. And I've been thinking about the males of the clan a lot and how we're really not seeing them, but I actually think they're still around. We just don't see them because they're sleeping. I don't know who that is that's making the vocalizations. But yes, Hart was trying to groom her little double trouble, and Swazi just keeps getting in the way, and no matter how many times Hart snarled at him. Oh, there we go. Oh no, who's limping? Oh no. Oh, it's Ribbon. No. Ribbon. Oh dear. Was her front right? Everybody, can we please have a meeting about how to not injure our legs, please? But in all fairness, I don't like seeing injured animals across the board. I don't like seeing dung beetles struggling on their back. I always flip them over. I don't like seeing any insect missing a leg. But, Marlene, I'm not sure if you're familiar with how hyenas live, but... Oh dear, Rib Robs. They really get themselves in all sorts of situations. They really do. There may have been an argument with another clan member. She may have tripped when trying to escape a predator. She may have just had... There's so many reasons. But hyenas are really resilient. You'll see that Shimbulu's already healing. He's already looking better. He's starting to put weight on his leg. We've seen Corky sustain some awful injuries, some awful limps, swollen joints, and they come bouncing back. Really, they do. They've got an incredible immune system. They've got an incredible digestive system, and they consume a lot of calcium, whether it's through mom, if they're a youngster, or whether it's an adult and they're just crushing through bones. So when it comes to repairing bones, they bounce back very quickly. I don't like seeing injured animals, but I know that Ribbon and Shimbulu here will be absolutely fine. Hyenas sometimes can't resist what their nose is telling them. If they get a whiff of a scent in their nostrils and it's delicious, they can't resist it. Even if it's a pride of lions there, they really can't resist it. So I haven't had a close enough look at Ribbon's leg. I don't know if it's swollen or cut, but I'm more than sure she'll bounce back. We've seen some of our hyenas in a really bad condition, and other than pretty, they've all bounced back. I think it was Ribbon lying down there the entire time. Are we able to just zoom in just a little bit closer to Ribbon, Marcel? I think our youngsters are having a good smell of our injury. I wonder maybe if there is blood. You know that Mummy's hurt. Lisa, there's 4 hyena species that make up the Hyaenidae family, and spotted hyenas are the only one that do the whooping vocalization. The whoop, it's only the spotted hyenas that do that. They're actually said to have around 14 different vocalizations. Very vocal animals, and all vocalizations mean something different. And because they are social and they have such complex social structures, that's why they communicate. There's so many different vocalizations to keep the clan together. But the striped, the brown, and the aardwolf do not make the whooping sound. It's very iconic of the spotted hyenas in the African bush. And within a clan, they're said to all be able to recognize each other's individual calls. So when we first heard the whooping from Ribbon, every other member here, Hart, Swazi, and the cubs, they'll know it's Ribbon. They can recognize each other in their own clan. So if they hear vocalizations coming from a hyena that's from a neighboring clan or a different clan, they'll know, oh, this is not one of us. This could be an enemy approaching. Swazi just lives his best life at the den. Oh, it looks like everyone's slowly going to calm down now. So from sleepy hyenas, we're going to send you across to some buffalo.
So we found this really nice herd of buffaloes. And actually, Owen and I saw them on our way to check the last position of that female leopard. And we stopped at the buffalo and we were thinking, oh, should we sit with the buffaloes and start the show with the buffaloes, or should we go and check on the leopard? And we decided, let's go past the buffaloes, because we can always come back to the buffaloes. Let's go check where that leopard was last. And luckily we did that, because she was on the move when we found her. And so it's actually worked out really nicely, because now we've come back to the buffaloes and they've come down the hill from where they were resting in the evening, and they've come down to this little mud wallow. And what's interesting is all the buffaloes have come down to have a look, and my guess is that they were coming to look for water, but a lot of them were quite keen, I'm sure, for the mud. And so not all the buffaloes have wallowed in the mud, but you'll see some of them really layering it on at the moment. You see, they lie and they go completely upside down with their legs in the air, getting mud completely covering their whole body. So a shame. Those that were thirsty, their little puddles were turned quite quickly into mud baths. But there is plenty of water around at the moment. There's still a few puddles left over from the recent rains that we've had. Exactly, Kate, they're getting a real good spa session in. It's like they're having a spa day at the moment. Exfoliating the skin really nicely. And you see those ones that are actually lying down in the mud and standing up also in that mud, completely covered in a thick layer of mud, and they'll make sure that they get their entire body. And you'll see some of them have even scooped mud up onto their horns. And both males and females. Now, you see that one that's lying down with the little bush over his horns? That's a big bull. And then if you look just to the right of him, the one standing up, facing away from us, her tail is actually like glued to the side of her body by the mud. And every now and then she tries to flick it, and you just see it wiggling at the base. Sarah is asking, are buffaloes endangered? And Sarah, these are Cape buffaloes, and Cape buffaloes are not considered as endangered. And there are quite a lot of very healthy populations, and they are actually farmed in a lot of parts of South Africa and going further up into the rest of Africa. So they are considered as least concern, or their population status is as least concern, although the overall population of wild buffaloes, Cape buffaloes, is decreasing, but that's just because, like I mentioned yesterday with the question about the giraffe being endangered or not, is because their habitat and the natural areas where they can live are being decreased by people. And you see some more buffaloes on their way down, and some of the buffaloes that were quite keen to drink have realized that there's no puddles here, or no puddles left here, and so some of them have started to move away. But it's quite a big herd, so there's buffaloes coming and going constantly. And they're quite sort of spunky now in the morning. They've been resting, and so they're excited for the day to start. Some of them are feeding, but some of the younger buffaloes are chasing each other around. We saw two young bulls sparring with one another. But yeah, like I said, there are still buffaloes coming down the hill. And some of them that have lost interest in the spot are leaving. So we're just going to sit here for a little bit longer and see if anything else exciting happens.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
We've repositioned, and this is Ribbon's injury. So it's her right, and it does look swollen. There's a little bit of blood, but really, she'll bounce back. This is Ribbon after all, Miss Matriarch, sleeping in her favourite spot. She'll be fine. She'll be absolutely fine. But yes, they get themselves in some tricky situations, hyenas. And that's exactly what happened to Swazi as well with the wire. He just puts his head in. They're so curious when it comes to smells. Puts his head somewhere it's not supposed to go and ended up with a wire or a snare, or whatever you want to call it, around his neck. Luckily, it wasn't tight. It's the only sort of thing we can be grateful for. It was very, very loose. It caused him really, really no damage. We, of course, had to remove it because it's from humans. If humans were not present here, that would have never have happened. But it really caused him no harm. If it was tight, then we could have been in trouble. The bond between Corky's daughter and Swazi is absolutely heart-melting. If this doesn't melt your heart, then I don't know what will. They can't get enough of each other. Swazi just wants to play, and she just wants to play. And her mother's not here, so she's got to keep herself occupied, I imagine. And when we actually removed the wire of Swazi, the vet was there. His name's Joe, an incredible wildlife vet. And he took us through the procedure and what he was doing. It was fascinating, but he also had a little look. He said, let's confirm 100% that Swazi's a male. And I thought, oh goodness, imagine if we've got this wrong. He said, yes, there's a sort of outer appearance. The males generally tend to have that triangular tip and the females are blunt, but you can also be wrong. It's a unique, bizarre piece of anatomy. So in order to 100% confirm that Swazi was a male, you actually just open up the genitalia and look for specialized glands. And this is, of course, the glands where the sperm is released. And that's the only way that scientifically you can conclude, until you see, when they're much older, until you see that a female is obviously larger and then pregnant and giving birth, and a male is obviously much smaller and not giving birth. But at Swazi's age, it was a good thing just to confirm, and we did that. And great news, everyone. He's definitely a boy. But it was really interesting to sort of dive deeper into the anatomy and see those glands and see that, yes, boy, those females will not have those glands once you sort of look a little bit closer. So he was checked out thoroughly and confirmed to be a very, very healthy boy. Of course he is, look at him. But once again, we try not to get involved in nature. But if the injury or the incident is caused by humans, then you do have to fix it. Oh, kisses for heart. Okay, I'm going to enjoy our hyenas a little bit longer, and we're going to send you across to some oxpeckers.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. Actually quite a nice cloudy morning, and we just found this male ostrich. As you can see, he's foraging around, looking for any plant material, but also lifting his head quite often just to see if there's any sign of danger. So this morning you are with me, ROAN. I'll be your guide for today. And then behind the camera, we've got BK. And it was actually BK that spotted the ostrich, quite funnily. We were driving through these massive clearings, and I said, this is a good spot for cheetah. And then BK just went, and next moment there's an ostrich. So yeah, not quite the cheetah we were hoping for, but actually quite rather cool to see on Ngala, this male ostrich. Shame he's by himself. There's no female in sight at all. But nice thing to find this early in the morning. Further on in the road, we've got quite a large herd of impala mixed with wildebeest, mixed with zebra, which we'll go past in a while. But yeah, like I was saying, he's feeding every now and then, but then craning its neck to see that nothing is stalking him. Imagine something like a cheetah would love to stalk this bird, try catch it. See the neck just raised again. Quite very dark black feathers, knowing it's a male. The female would be lighter in color, more gray or brown, if you would. Oh, it just shook its head there. So very fast birds. You can see very long legs and rather dangerous. Very sharp claws on it, but I guess that would help them run. We had a nest somewhere here not too long ago. Never saw the chicks, though. I think that nest was found in August. Tom, asking, is it true that ostriches can run faster than horses? Tom, I'm not too sure. I don't want to run. Oh, sorry, I don't want to lie to you. Yeah, so in all honesty, I don't know. I have no idea. I know ostriches are very, very fast. I can imagine, I think it's something like 80 kilometers an hour that they can get up to. But I'm not too sure if that's faster than a racing horse, Tom, sorry. I will, when I get back after game drive, I'll try and look it up. I'll try and research it for you and then get back to you on the afternoon game drive. It's like the ostrich just spotted us for the first time now. Finally looked at us. I'm still just checking around. See if there's any sign of danger. That's a bizarre looking bird. Imagine that flying. How weird that would be. I think we'll let this ostrich feed and then carry on. Maybe go check where these zebras and wildebeest are heading. But for now, you are going back over to Grant with his buffalo.
Just returning to the site here until around the week, but that animal's going to be unattended soon.
Well, Welcome back, guys. We are being approached by this herd of buffalo. And it's quite intimidating. There's a lot of them. They're quite angry looking. And every now and then they'll take a few steps towards us. And then they'll just stare us down. Oops, and there's a bit of communication. There's a cow off to our left that's, I think, quite keen to get going. You hear that sound just like a cow. And you see how some of them are very, very shiny. Lorna is asking what do they use as a defense method. So their main defense will be those big horns that you can see on top of their head. Those horns are extremely hard and the tips of them are very sharp. And they have got incredibly powerful muscles on their neck, and so they will use their neck muscles to flick their head around and try to basically to try to intimidate the threat. But they have quite a I would say like well-designed, well-orchestrated defense as well, in the fact that they put the youngsters instinctually stick to the middle of the herd, and the bigger, older cows will be around the edges, and then the bulls will be bringing up the back of the herd. And their biggest threat or their biggest opponent or predator would be a lion. And so leaving those big bulls at the back means that those big bulls are the first line of defense against lions. Lions won't attack a herd of buffaloes from the front, because what happens is the healthiest, strongest buffaloes will be at the front of the herd, leading the herd, and the more vulnerable, younger buffaloes will be in the middle. And then obviously the weaker ones will lag slightly behind, and then right at the back will be the strong bulls. And so that's how they move through the bush, to make sure that they are always prepared to take on lions. If there are lions that are trying to track them down, the lions will always attack from the back. So pretty clever defense mechanism as well. Now, when we were sitting here about 5 minutes ago, we did see a tiny, tiny, tiny little calf, and I haven't seen it again. But I did mention to Owen that I could see with the binoculars, I could see its umbilical cord, which means that it's under 3 weeks old, because the umbilical cord usually falls off around about 3 weeks old. So I'd love to try and get a look at that little calf, if we can see it again. So we're going to stick here for a little bit longer. And I'm going to send you off to a very sleepy hyena with Lauren.
Sleepy. Not a chance. I would not use the word sleepy here. It is very active at this den site. Ribbon's sleeping, but everyone else is just fully awake. Heart's left. She's obviously had enough. She's gone. And everyone else is just up to no good, making trouble in the neighbourhood. That was a quote from a song, probably not a very good one. We're going to leave the den very shortly. There's fresh female leopard tracks walking right past the sort of the hyena den road. It hasn't got a name yet, and it takes you straight to Treehouse Dam. So we're going to follow up very small female leopard tracks, very fresh. They were not here last night. So someone's in the area. My guesses would be either Tlalamba or Shadulu. But let's check around. I don't think the entertainment's going to end here for quite some time. The sun's not broke through the way I thought it was going to. It seems to be quite overcast now, which is a great relief from yesterday. Yesterday was not pleasant for anyone, including all the animals. I think someone's under our car. I can hear them clanking away. Oh, look at Swazi grabbing by the leg. My goodness. But it's remarkable how gentle they are with these mouths. The mouths that can crush through bones. When they're playing, they really do just play. And the other night when we got to see June pick up her little cub in its mouth, and in her mouth, sorry, and put it... Oh, sorry, they're just making me laugh. Swazi, that's quite rough. But yes, when June put her little cub back in the den, she was determined that this cub was not to explore and must stay in the den. She was doing everything she could. She picked it up, and it's really remarkable how gentle they are with their mouths. Just like domestic dogs, there's certain breeds of dogs, Marcel and I were just chatting about that, really, that have the potential to kill you. They're so powerful with their jaws. But when they want to play and engage with their humans, they're very gentle, and hyenas are exactly the same. And that's what play is all about. Not only are they engaging and having fun and exercising and training the muscles, they're also learning what's gentle and what's not with their mouths. They probably are completely unaware that they have one of the most incredible, powerful mammalian bites in the kingdom. Really powerful skulls that are equipped for crunching right through all sorts of bones. There's lots of banging and things happening underneath here. They've got really unique shaped skulls. When you actually see the skull from a dead animal that's not only live individual, they're very unique shape. Very heavy set. Lots of muscles there in order to power those strong jaws. They can be as heavy and as large as a lion at 3 kilograms. And when they sort of get older, you see the change in the development of the skull, and they actually develop a sagittal crest. And this is the crest. They actually have a little peak on the top of their head that runs right down the middle of their skull. And it's not just hair, it's actually bone structure underneath. And as they get older, you see this, and this is called the sagittal crest. They also have zygomatic arches under their eyes that are very pronounced. Gives them that sort of really wide appearance to their skull. And these are all really important muscle attachment sites, especially the zygomatic arches. By having wider bone structure across their cheeks, if you like, under the eye bone, it allows for more muscle attachment sites to power those jaws. You can't have one of the most powerful bites in the mammalian world if you've not got the muscles to power it. You've got to be equipped. You've got to be ready to have one of the most powerful bites. Just like a leopard has a huge scapula with lots of additional muscle attachment sites to allow them to hoist. It's almost the same concept, but it's with the hyena's facial muscles. Debbie, they don't always scavenge. That's not the case at all, in any way, shape or form. They hunt. Now, I am a firm believer, there's sort of statistics that it's 50-50 in the Masai Mara, hunt 50, scavenge 50, and here it's scavenge 80, hunt 20. But I don't think that's correct. I think here, maybe Marcel can give you a sort of good view of what we're looking at here. It's not like the Masai Mara in terms of environment, topography, landscape. It's thick, it's dense. I cannot see right in front of me. There's just trees and shrubs everywhere. So I think there's a lot of hunting that happens with the hyenas that we don't see. I think they hunt a lot, be it a scrub hare, be it an impala. Of course they hunt. There's no way that they could sustain themselves just by scavenging from the leopards and lions here. There's not enough leopards and lions here to sustain a very hungry clan with lots of cubs. So they do scavenge, absolutely. They have powerful jaws, A, to hunt, of course, and B, crunch through bones. They are called the bone crushers. They can crunch through bones and get all the nutrition and calcium from bones, which makes them very strong. But they do hunt, and they're incredible at it. I witnessed it many times in the Masai Mara with the North Clan, and you can see it easily up there because it's very flat. The grass can get long, but other than that, there's not trees and shrubs. It doesn't get thick and dense like it gets out here. They're remarkable hunters. They just run, chase their prey, not too unlike wild dogs. They can hunt solitary if it's a smaller item of prey, but they can also cooperate. And of course, when hyenas cooperate in a hunt, they can take down large species of prey. But yes, they have a reputation for scavenging, and they do, completely. And it's necessary for someone to be the scavengers. It's a really important role to play in the ecosystem. But they absolutely do hunt. We just don't really see it here. But I watched the other night Corky's daughter sort of not stalking, but slowly creeping up and chasing frogs. So yes, it's only a small frog, but that's her practicing, that's her developing the skills, coordination, direction. But having one of the most powerful bites, they do have to be gentle with each other. Swazi could easily snap one of the cub's legs by accident. So during this play, they have to be gentle, otherwise it could end in devastation. Swazi is just a big cub, isn't he? Oh, they hear something. Oh, all the cubs running back into the den. Swazi's running away. What do they hear? I don't hear anything, of course. But they definitely hear something. Okay, we're going to scratch around and check up on those fresh leopard tracks, see what we can find. But for now, we're going to send you back across to Grant and his buffalo.
Welcome back, everyone. And look what we found. We've managed to find that tiny little calf. Look at it. It is so cute. Now something, if you look carefully on its belly, you might be able to see the little umbilical cord just between the legs. Now something so bizarre has just happened. We managed to catch up to them. Mom is this this cow standing closest to that little calf with a little bit of bush or the few leaves behind her ears, or between her ears and her horn. And I have no idea why, but there was another cow close by, and it flicked that calf with its horns. It literally picked it up, scooped it and flicked it, and the little calf lifted about, I don't know, about 1.5 meters into the air and landed onto the ground, and it stood straight back up again. And we were just commenting on how tough these animals are. That little calf didn't even notice. It just popped straight back up onto its feet. And I have no idea why that cow did that. But Mom came charging in and chased that other cow away. Now, what is happening with these buffaloes at the moment, if Owen goes to the front of the buffaloes, you'll see the tree, and that's actually the tree that the leopard is in. That is the saffron there. So in the tallest parts of that tree somewhere, there is a female leopard. And so we're just going to see what's going to happen. I'm sure the buffaloes can smell her, because they've all stopped, and some of the leading buffaloes in the front there have, the pathfinders, have lifted up their noses and are smelling the air. If these buffaloes had to find that leopard on the ground, they would definitely chase her and probably try to kill her. Mary, that is a very interesting question. Do buffalo males kill the babies if they want to mate with the females? No, they don't. It's very unusual for a buffalo to hurt another buffalo that it's not in direct competition with. So buffalo bulls will fight with one another, and those fights can end in the death of one of those two bulls. But buffaloes want the best for their whole herd, and so they want a big, strong, healthy herd. So the more buffaloes in the herd, the better. And the bulls will compete with one another for the mating with the females, but they will not kill a calf in order to mate with the female. They will wait until the next opportunity to mate with a buffalo comes, or with a cow comes. See how they're slowly moving, their heads down. They're not too concerned about that leopard. They're just carrying on their movements, feeding, and so I think we are going to be carrying on from here and going to go and see what else we can find for you all this morning.
Thanks, Grant. So we came into this little open area over here. As you can see, we're looking at the Egyptian geese, where they often sometimes find near a puddle of water, or sometimes far from the water. And there's also, I came back to this Galago pen, where now I had done, actually, this is my final check before I go somewhere else. look for possibly another different leopard if I fail this. It's always another second option. So there's a blacksmith. Sitting right there also in that little patch. Probably focusing on its own hunt. Both two species, either near water or far from the water. Blacksmith, a lapwing it's got. Very beautiful call, like a metal banging up. When it communicates, does a beautiful display flying, especially if there's any presence that surprised them. Dogs or anything that would eat their chicks. You would hear them fly very much, and they make so much of a noise, trying to scare away whatever, trying to approach their chicks as well. And this Egyptian geese looks like it's drinking right there. And they're vegetarian, so they feed grass seeds. So I'm gonna move on here, see if I get luck.
So we've come a little bit forward as the buffaloes were moving off, and just to have a look and see what the leopard was up to. And she had her face just in that little gap, and she was looking straight at us because we had the buffaloes behind us. But she's now lay back down and made herself comfortable once again. So you'll see just over my shoulder the buffaloes moving off there. And she was keeping a close eye, a watchful eye on those buffaloes, making sure that they weren't coming any closer. So you'll just see, oh, there's a nice bum scratch on the tree there. And it seems as though the buffalo's direction, I can see on the road up ahead, quite far down, there's some buffaloes coming out, and further down along this road there's a really nice pan with quite a bit of water, and so those that were thirsty earlier will definitely be able to get a drink, and those that want to wallow some more will be able to do some wallowing. Brendan, go on, Brendan. Yeah, you can keep making your way. The buffaloes have passed now. I'll also probably be moving on. I'm getting comfy. Just look this way for a little bit. Daniel, thank you. How much of the day do leopards spend sleeping? So leopards can be quite similar to lions, especially when they've got a full belly. Like this leopard, she's done her territorial patrol, she's got a full belly, she's had a drink of water, so her priority now is to rest. And so like a house cat and like a lion and like all the other big cats, they can sleep for the majority of the day, 18-20 hours of the day, quite easily. But then they have days where they need to be busy as well. If they haven't had a meal, if they haven't patrolled and looked after their territory, they will need to do territorial patrol. And so it does vary, but if they can, they would much prefer to get their rest in. I think with all the commotion around, she's woken up, but she wants to go back to sleep. And when we say sleep 20 or 18 hours of the day, it's not a deep, full, locked-in 18 hours that they are out. It's mostly resting, because they will open their eyes quite regularly to check on their surroundings, and their ears are still working, still making sure that they're safe, listening out for any potential prey or hunting opportunities. And so it's more, we refer more to the resting than to the actual sleeping for that many hours of the day. And you can see just how camouflaged she is up in that tree. I mean, I think the buffaloes could smell that there had been a leopard here, but they had no idea that she was actually there as they were walking around underneath the tree. And she's looking around. And the most exciting sighting I've had with leopard, Debbie, sure, there's been so many. I've been very, very lucky. But one of the most exciting ones was probably when I was actually in the Sabi Sands. I was working at our and Beyond's camp called Kirkman's Camp in the Sabi Sands, and there were two male leopards that were fighting, and they were sizing each other up and walking side by side and growling non-stop. And they walked down into a drainage line, and as they were heading down into the drainage line, there was just this loud bellow from inside, and these two big buffalo bulls came running out, and they chased the leopards, and the leopards both went up separate trees, and the buffaloes were each underneath a tree, just circling, waiting for the leopard to come down. And the leopards were still up in the trees, growling at one another, but also hissing at the buffaloes. So that was pretty exciting. Anytime that there's an interaction, I think, is very, very exciting, especially if it's something like a leopard, when we consider that male leopards are completely solitary. Well, male and female leopards are completely solitary. To see two leopards in the same place is very exciting itself. And then for them to be interacting with something like a big, powerful buffalo was quite special to see. Oh, she's moving around a little bit, stretching. I think she's just going to reposition. I wonder if she's spotted something, because when she was lying there, she was looking in that direction. Now she's kind of stood up, and I'm sure she's looking through a little gap in the canopy of the tree. This area, there's some nice open clearings where we do see quite a lot of impalas, zebras, wildebeest, and even warthogs. And with the young warthogs and the impala lambs around, she'll definitely be looking out for any quick meal. This female leopard, I was actually telling Owen last night, on our way back to the lodge, we drove past a spot where she had actually caught an impala ewe, so an adult female impala, and 4 little lambs, and she had 4 lambs and an ewe all underneath the same tree. Oh, she's coming down. She's coming down the tree. She's coming down. Oof, there she is on the bottom. And she is going out. Not too sure which oh, I think she sat down. Okay, I'm going to... No, she's not. She's on the move. She's coming towards us. She's coming towards us. I'm going to reverse back a little bit, guys. Just bear with me. She's going to walk straight towards us. Or I might get it wrong. She might just walk straight across the road. Let's see. So she's just inside that thicket. Here she comes. Oh, she's going to go straight across. What a beautiful little leopard she is, hey? This is the direction she actually came from this morning. She seems to be heading back towards where she was yesterday. Now that the threat of those buffaloes has passed, I'm not too sure where she's going, but we're going to stick with her and see what happens. I mean, yesterday we had no idea that she had a little warthog carcass there, and so she might lead us to something else that might have happened last night. Let me go forward just a little bit for us. If we can. There we go. Oh, she's laying down and she's rolling in some buffalo dung. Remember yesterday, for those of you that were with us, we saw her mum with buffalo dung all over the back of her head. And that is exactly what she's doing right now. So we're going to follow this leopard, and I'm going to send you off to Lauren, who's got some elephants. Okay, so we're not going anywhere. Well, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stick with us and our leopard. Oh, and she's actually eating the dung as well. Look at that.
North located.
It looks like she's eating the dung. Yeah, there we go. Look at the black on her tongue. How amazing is that? So she's not quite getting that that much on the back of her neck. Like we saw her mum had almost wet neck. But maybe she's not finished yet. No, and off she goes. So she's moving through some slightly thicker stuff at the moment. We are going to try and stick with her.
Thanks, Grant. So here it's about the same, but slightly different. You know, we look for the leopard, we fail to find it, but we still have a kudu, which they are busy feeding in it. Very open over here. It's so nice to always see kudu come out of the open. You know, always they mean to be in a thick. Where here it looks like it's a whole group. I see one of the young one, which is probably maybe 2 years somewhere there. The minute you see the horns are well developed like this, somewhere around nearly 2 years or 2 years old. You can still see clearly this vertical stripe. Always beautiful stripe with the kudu. And their mouth looks like a milk drinker. You see the top lip is also white. Whenever they look at us. Yeah, one of the animals that's so clever hang around together. Oh, something they're not sure about. Oh, she's gonna move. She's gonna run. See, every time they run, the tail's curled up, visible of a white. And that's how they were able to follow one another. They might maybe been disturbed by something so small sometimes. And they're very alert. They're gonna head back to the bush. They're always meant to be in the bush because they're browsers. I know we saw them go down on their ground, their heads down, so they would feed on these shoots of herbs. Very much, but they'll spend a lot of time in the thicket, eat leaves. That's the browser, so that's how they disappear right from us. But they may come out whenever it's okay for them. So compare kudus and impalas. Impala they would prefer much on the open area because then it's all about trust. It's all about sometimes get used to what they feed on grasses mainly. Where impalas, they're actually a mixed feeder. They would take grasses and they will take, trees, plants. So I'm going to be carrying you on just to look around here. I'm going to be sending you over to another guide.
Don't block us, don't block us, don't block us. So we are with our leopard still, guys. I'm just going to go off the road a little bit. There she is. She's come back to the road and she is doing a little bit of scent marking. I wouldn't say she's on a territorial patrol, but she's moving from one spot to the next, and so as she goes along, she's just going to be marking again here and there, making sure that her scent is still very prominent in her area. Now, we have been having some car issues, so I'm going to try and start up, and let's see what happens. Come on. I'm going to try again, guys. I would love to try and stick with her. No, that's it. We're done. So you might see her tail just moving through the trees over there. That little bit of white. And you'll see a car. And there she goes. Okay, well, we try to make a plan here. I'm going to send you back across to Andrew as he searches for his leopard.
Thanks, Grant. So, yes, indeed, I'm on a search for leopard. And I check a few roads already here. But now I'm deciding to actually move slightly west, away from this area. And you know what I'll do? I'll probably listen to any of sound of birds, if there's probably a distress call or an alarm call, to impalas as well, most of the antelopes. So I may drive and maybe stop just to listen to any of those. because I doubt that if Talambash is still there, there's been a lot of hyena tracks in and out, quarantine, and the last tracks probably headed into that direction where she was seen with her kill. Or it could be that maybe the same track that Lorraine is following up at the moment out there. So that's why I decided to change my plan now, but I'm still looking for a leopard. But I just changing the location now. I'm going to be looking for somewhere else, possibly western sector, where maybe, you know, it would be so good, you know, just to see if maybe there's any male leopard in the area that we don't know about. Because so many boundaries that, you know, leopards that do a lot of their own movement, reactivating their own scent, boundaries, territorial. So I'm gonna carry on like this, probably give you another update. I'm gonna be sending you over JP.
Good morning and welcome to Swallow in Kalahari. At the moment we're at a pan that's called Kalkpan, which is a concrete pan which is far to the western side of the reserve. So we went on a little bit of an adventure to go and see what we can go and find, and decided that it's best maybe to come and see where there's water. So at the moment, as that we at the pan, there was a vulture that just flew off. There's also some wildebeest that's coming in from a distance, some springbok, and also red hartebeest, which is staring at us from a distance. So we're just going to give the animals a little bit of a space so that they can closer. If they relax to us, then we're also going to make our way a little bit closer towards the pan. So the vultures that we have onto the side of the vehicle, that's busy perched up here in the tree. There's a whole bunch of whiteback vultures that's sitting close by. We're just zooming in on them. So one of the other species that we often find over here is a much larger lappet-faced vulture. But in general, it's mostly whiteback vultures. These vultures are also quite often confused with Cape vultures, as they look very similar in appearance. However, they're almost half of the weight of a Cape vulture, and they also have dark eyes in the adult, and where Cape vultures have a honey-colored eye. Other thing that we also see with these vultures, if they do fly away from us, that they've got a white marking on the back, hence the name whiteback vulture, which is one of the identification features which makes them fairly easily to identify. So vultures in generally are very clean birds. They love to come to this pan. They do come and bathe here quite often to clean their feathers once they've eaten. We also find that vultures are incredibly keen-sighted animals, and it's believed that they can see a 6-centimeter diameter object at over 1 kilometer in distance. It's also said that they can see one another at approximately 40 kilometers in distance, so that they're often riding thermals, and then they will respond to one another over those distances when they see them in other. My name is JP Leroux, and behind the camera we've got Darby for the morning. Coming back to the vultures, we also find that they quite often will use the thermals so that they can energy effectively fly or glide from one thermal to the next. So vultures are also very keen-sighted on what other animals are doing. Quite often they are watching predators such as cheetah, hyena and lion and jackal. So does these animals watch the vultures and their behavior, because quite often that is a meal ticket for them. So we also find that with vultures, they tend to often perch up in trees if there's predators quite close by. However, some of the smaller species of vulture, which we find eastern half of South Africa, such as the hooded vultures, will very readily fly down to the ground if there is predators on the ground, especially lion and wild dog, as they quite often consume the feces of these. So vultures also play a very important role for us in the ecosystem, where they are responsible for cleaning dead carcasses up and preventing the spread of disease in that way. All of the vulture species within South Africa is endangered. Good morning, Ruby. And to add to your comment, yes, they are absolutely magnificent animals, and they're also incredibly important for us in this ecosystem. Their value is often overlooked, and as with they're all endangered species, we should actually put a much higher focus on protecting these species. Quite sadly, a lot of these vultures in recent years have been poisoned, especially by poachers that are trying to conceal their work that they've been doing. So they'll poison the carcass so that the vultures can't give away their position to field rangers when they do descend onto the carcasses. Sadly, vultures are also poached for the purposes of getting their brains. So what they often do with the brains is that they will dry it and then they will smoke it, and it's believed that you can see into the future, which is obviously not true. And quite often this is used by people that are predicting or trying to predict the outcome of future events where betting or potential money can be gained from, such as playing the lotto. Even in 2010 in the World Cup, it was also quite often used by a lot of people to try and predict the outcome of the World Cup for the soccer. Good morning, Mark, and welcome to the show. Just to answer your question on that, in general, we consider them as scavengers. However, species such as the white-headed vulture has actually been known to imitate the sounds of mongooses and hunt them. Here's a few fast facts about vultures. Our largest vulture species in South Africa is known as a lappet-faced vulture. Our smallest vulture species is a hooded vulture. Although every now and then, a very rare small vulture that enters the area of Southern Africa is known as Egyptian vulture, which is slightly smaller than a hooded vulture. This is the one that we mentioned on one of the previous shows that likes to go for ostrich eggs and open these up by tapping them with little small stones until they break. We find that with the vulture species, there's also a distinct feeding hierarchy when it comes to a carcass. So quite often, the smaller species will be able to fly before the larger species can do so. And what the smaller species will do is indicate where these carcasses are to the larger species. If a carcass has not been opened, the larger ones will then open it, and the smaller ones will feed after that the larger vultures have opened the carcass. So we're going to link you from here to Andrew, that's currently following up on some leopard tracks.
Thanks, JP. So, what I just got an update. Looks like they got the thing is at Lalamba, far east from where I am right now. So I'm just gonna confirm if it's her, because maybe that's where and Lauren is working right now. So she may maybe respond to that. But you know, I actually come across very interesting tracks, which is all packs of wild dogs. You know, it's very difficult to show everybody's tracks, but looking at the ground we're here, so this is where all dogs come in. So I'm just gonna circle around wherever's possible. So it looks like it's a whole packs of dogs that have moved in. So I know yesterday I worked around this area and it was nothing for sure. And then I believe that, you know, I was in quarantine there. The Impala was so chill, and then I just left good, also so relaxed. So I believe maybe they might move just before sunrise or anything from 4 o'clock this morning. But they're leading west. Well, I'm going to follow the tracks just to see if we get lucky. Maybe they're just lying down. Maybe they just feel something and decide to lie down, or they have continued move on. So I'm going to on that. Oh, that's great. So let's see if we get succeed over here. I'm going to be linking you or sending you to Lauren with the leopard.
We've got Miss Tlalamba here. Very interested in a marula tree. Hello, Tlalamba. Scoosh, scoosh. It's urine that comes out of those specialized pouches, but it contains marking fluid. So that's Tlalamba marking her territory right there, and I'm going to tell you where we are. We are at the very southeastern corner of Djuma, just slightly north of Chitakatline and Gowrie, Main. This is normally Tandy's territory. Is Miss Tlalamba here pushing? Is she expanding? Are you okay to keep moving, Marcello? She's scent marking again? Wow. I've not seen Tlalamba this far south, I don't think. Wow, wow, wow. It's normally Tandy's, bordering onto Sabui to the south, Tandy and Kuchava to the east. Okay, she's very mobile. I think I'm just gonna go the other way because there's another vehicle. Nice to see her marking her territory though. So in that marking fluid, it is just urine, but it contains her own chemical signature. It's like a signature. No other leopard, no other animal will have Tlalamba's signature. And you can recognize, each leopard can recognize one another by this signature. She's just here. Is that okay, Marcel? When I see her, I just see a little mini Tingana. I don't really always see Tandy. I just see a mini little feminine Tingana, if that's possible. Oh, she's scraping. So sometimes they'll urinate and then purposely stand in the urine so that when they walk, they're spreading the urine as they walk. This is another form of scent marking. They'll also rub their cheeks against trees. And this is because the sebaceous glands in the cheeks near the whiskers, they secrete a sebum. She's just there, Marcello, if you got her. Yeah. And this sebum also contains her signature. And it's another way for her to mark her territory. So what she's doing is she's creating an odor fence. We can't see it, we can't touch it, it's chemical. We aren't even very aware of it, to be honest, and it creates, sorry about that. It creates an odor fence, and it's not impenetrable. I'll move forward, Marcello. other leopards, other organisms can come in if they choose to do so, but they've got that information. This fence, they'll come, they'll understand, this is a female leopard, this is Tlalamba's territory. If I choose to cross this older fence, which I can, I'm coming into her territory. So it's basically serving as a warning. It's not really serving as an actual barrier to keep people out. Is she going to climb on this log? It would be really lovely if you did that, Tlalamba. Oh, Kevin, I'm not even entirely sure that's been studied. I'm afraid I couldn't possibly answer that. I think it would depend on male versus female. Oh! What you got? Squirrel! Aubrey's laughing. You would think this cat is hungry. How can she possibly be hungry? But Jess, I really don't know. It depends on where they are. If they're in a really barren area and there's not many trees, the rate of scent marking is going to be less than in an area where it's really dense and there's lots of trees and lots of vegetation. It depends if they really are on patrol. Patrol can take up to a quarter of their energy budget, 25%, or if she's just wandering, hunting and scooshing as she goes. I really am not able to answer that question, I'm afraid. There's so many different ways that they can scent mark. Even just by scraping their claws against the trunk of a tree, that's another territorial marker, believe it or not. This is my territory. I have scraped these trees. Oh, Tlalamba just eats everything in her path. She's going up. I think if I go forward, we'll get a little bit of a better view. There is another vehicle there, so let me just... How's that, Marcello? Hello, pretty kitty. My Christmas kitty. Second year in a row. She still is remarkably full. But clearly she's not. Clearly there's space for more delicious animals inside her tummy. Okay, let's continue to reposition. Tlalamba on the move is not an easy leopard to follow. I'm just going to let this other vehicle go in front. You can see her. Hopefully she'll go up on top of that mound. No, she's not going to go on top of that mound. Hopefully she's going to walk right in front of the vehicle. I think she's going to scent mark this tree here. I think she's going to go for this marula right in front of us. See, sebaceous glands, scrape. Urine. We're gonna scoosh? Oh, no scoosh. She's turned into such a fine territorial female, she really has. And setting up a territory is so crucial for a female to be able to reproduce. In order to successfully reproduce, give birth to a litter, lactate, rear, they need to have a really they need to be a strong territorial holder, have lots of access to resources being shelter, food and water, before they can successfully raise offspring. For a female, it's all about choosing an area based on resources. The bigger area, the better, and that will of course fall in the area of a dominant male, one of the many dominant males around here. She's here. Oh, gone again. I think it's actually better to get much further up ahead. I wonder if she was attracted to the kill, or all the kills that Sabui had down on Gowrie Main as well. I wonder why she's this far south. Anyway, we're going to try our very best to keep up with our mobile little princess.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest. There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. Bear with me 2 seconds, everyone. She's crossed into Torchwood. So I have to call myself into Torchwood first. That's the rules out here. Wild Earth crossing into Torchwood at the Tlalamba sighting. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. We control the areas and the sightings, and Tlalamba is somewhere. I haven't got a visual of her, but she's crossed into Torchwood. Now, she sometimes does touch into Torchwood, but I wonder how far she'll go in. I don't have a visual of her right now. We do also have tricky signals sometimes on Torchwood, so we'll do our... she's there, Marcel. We're going to go up ahead. Knowing Tlalamba, she'll take us on a wild goose chase or a wild leopard chase. She's a busy, busy cat. It's very difficult to bundabash in summer, especially a summer like this one when it's so thick and so lush. Can you smell the wild basil, Marcel? Isn't it lovely? Do Marcel wants to use it. Marcel is an incredible cook, everyone. Incredible. He cooks regularly for us, which does not help my physique. Let's cook with wild basil, Marcel. I think that's a great idea. It's used in traditional cooking. It's used to make tea. And it smells just wonderful when it's disturbed. Oh, there's a butterfly, Tlalamba. Are you going to eat it? how tall the grass is. This is why it's such a struggle to find leopards these days. Really, such a struggle. She's stalking something. No, she's not stalking. Let's go round this way, Marcel. Yes, she is. I didn't catch that name, but leopards generally will saw. That's their vocalization. They've got the same voice box as a lion, and it's a sort of respiratory call. It's done on the inhalation and the exhalation. Something like that. I'm not very good at doing the leopard saw, and that's really the only vocalization that you'll hear a leopard make to... Sorry, bear with me, everyone. Trying to navigate here. She's ready to pounce on something. I don't know what it is, so... Or she was. Something's catching her attention. So yes, you'll hear them sawing when they're marking their territory. Now, when it comes to when she's in estrus, she'll saw a lot more frequently. So it's still the same vocalization, but she's doing it a lot more frequently to let others know of her presence, especially males. And she'll leave chemical signals. What do you see? She'll leave chemical signals everywhere as she goes, and this will signal to the males that she's in estrus. So through listening for her saws, it's not a special saw, it will just become a lot more frequent. She'll do it to make herself obvious. She'll scent mark a lot more heavily in order to attract the male's attention. She will also go and seek a male. Female leopards are known to move out with their territory in order to seek males. They move extraterritorially. It can be a little bit risky, but as soon as you find that male, he essentially will protect you for the duration of the mating. So in answer to your question, they just saw a lot more. It's not a specialized call for mating. Oh, how wonderful. She's backtracking and going in the completely opposite direction. Of course. Shall we do a U-turn? Why did I think this was going to be easy? Okay, just let me navigate through here. You've got to be really careful you don't hit potholes. You also don't drive over protected trees, like leadwoods, for example. That you also don't run into any other animals that may be living in the vegetation, and you've got to keep your eye on the prize, which is of course Miss Kalamba here. Okay, I'm going to do a wider loop. Josh, she doesn't choose territory. For female leopards, they're normally sort of given, if you like, they take over a portion of their mothers. So it's already mapped out for them. Once a female leopard gets to about a year, you'll start to see the mother making slight changes to her territory. She'll start to shift. So female leopards normally are pushed to independence at about... Sorry, I'm trying to think how to navigate. I'm going to go forward. At about 18 months. So at 18 months, they're on their own. Males stick around a little bit longer, and she'll just take over a chunk or a slice of her mother's territory. She doesn't choose it. And then she'll start to expand and push, and using the dynamics of all the other females in the area, she'll start to make her own territory bigger. And of course, it's going to change, it's going to shift, it's going to move. But that's how it works for a female. Now, for a male, technically they do choose because they disperse. They seek a new area where there's a vacant spot, a vacancy. They may have to battle with some other males. They may have to engage in sort of some physicality in order to claim their territory. They disperse wherever they wish, and they find an area that's vacant that they can take up space at around 2 years or anywhere after 2 years. And then from then, they will also expand and push and grow and try and get the bigger territory. Start off small and then let it grow. Males want as many females within their territory as possible. Oh, are we going to go to this marula? You love the marulas, don't you? I wonder if we can smell the popcorn. Leopard's urine smells like popcorn, and if any of you are new to joining our drives, I'm quite sensitive to smells, and it really does smell like popcorn. Not a little bit, a lot. Sweet popcorn, not salty. And it comes from a chemical called 2AP, originally found in the small Asian mammal, the binturong. You should Google it, it's quite cute. And it's also found in jennets. And it's the same chemical that's actually in popcorn itself. And that's why shall we have a sniff, Marcel? Can you smell anything? No, neither can I. How disappointing. Look at me sniffing Talamba's urine. Well, I'm going to hopefully manage to keep up with our little girl here, but for now we're going to send you across to JP at a waterhole.
Good morning and welcome back to Tswalu. We're still at Kalkpan Pan, and we've just been watching this roan coming slightly closer and closer and closer to come and have a drink. Hopefully we'll be able to watch him have a drink in a few moments. Just a few interesting things about roan. So we don't really normally associate them with the Kalahari. However, this species was quite widely translocated in the hope of creating separate little pockets on a number of different game reserves as the numbers started dwindling. So where we normally find them is in the eastern half of South Africa in the Kruger National Park, where they've, over the last few decades, have lost quite a number of them. And somewhere in the late 70s, I can remember that there was a program that they started to actually inoculate them against anthrax, which was one of the main causes that brought down their numbers. Just to give you a further idea, they are currently on SA Red Data Book as a vulnerable species. Therefore, if we do look at the horse-like antelopes such as roan, sable, and the oryx, they are quite often confused with one another, but it's fairly easy to separate them. The oryx or gemsbok has got fairly straight backward sweeping horns, while both the sable and the roan has decurved horns. If we do look at the coloration pattern of the two different antelopes, if we compare roan to the sable has jet black coloration with a white underbelly, while the roan has got the reddish brown coat. There we go. Seems as if he's coming a little bit closer. Ms. B, that's quite a difficult question to answer for me because I like all of them. But if I really have to think of what is my favorite antelope in terms of the larger antelopes, I do love kudu. There's just something about them. They are so majestic. Well, sable is also just as beautiful. If I think of impala, I love them just as much because they are such interesting animals. But on the smaller antelopes, which we get within the 4 to 5 kilogram range, the blue duiker and the Sharp's grasbok, and also the little red duiker is one of my favorites of a small antelope species. Sometimes it's quite difficult to choose because if you're passionate about nature, everything is unique and everything is wonderful to you. And especially the more you learn about these animals and the more you discover how fascinating they are, that also starts adding to why they become so special to you. In general, when Good morning, Michael, and welcome to the show. On the 3rd of January 2021, it will be precisely 21 years that I will be guiding. So I started almost 21 years ago, and I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still passionate about it. And it's been a tremendous growth journey for me to become a guide. And it's always challenging to learn new things, and it's always a great challenge to just travel, to experience new areas. So all of this has added up to 21 years of passion for me in terms of guiding. And I'm still as excited about seeing these animals and birds and experiencing what I'm experiencing in a daily nature as that it was 21 years ago. Good morning, RJ. To answer your question, how do we separate a male from a female when it comes to roan? Generally, the bulls are much larger than the females. However, with smaller antelope species, we see the opposite, where the females tend to be the larger of the two sexes. We also have horns in both sexes when it does come to roan. And generally, we find that males have a thicker base at the edge where the horn meets the skull. I mean, if you're still not 100% sure, you can just look underneath the belly to see where the penis sheath is breaking the outline of the underbelly. One of the things that fascinates me always about roan is about how large the ears are. This is generally a characteristic of antelope species which occupies thick wooded areas, because you do need your ears to be able to detect threats well in advance before you can sometimes see them in those habitats. And most of the time when we do watch animals coming close by to a waterhole, they are aware that they are very vulnerable to predators such as lion, cheetah, and a host of others. Therefore, they are very cautious and always looking around very nervously before they eventually will have a drink. As guides, we often use water in terms of predicting and season to predict where we can find certain species. So some antelope species have become entirely water dependent. They have to come and drink at least once a day. Some species have sort of become water independent, where they can go for several days without water. And then some of them, like steenbok and gemsbok, has become totally independent from water, where they can actually gain enough moisture from the food that they consume. We also use the time of day to determine where you can find certain species. So, for example, if you're keen to find white rhino, we often find them that they drink in the early morning or in the later part of the afternoon. Here we go. Wow, Astrid, that's a very good question. There's so many wonderful experiences that I've had over the years, and I've just actually shared one with Davy this morning, and it's one from almost 20 years ago, and I wanted to really see a gemsbok, as I've never seen one before, and I was asking everybody, where can I see this antelope? Where can I see this antelope? And eventually we were in Namibia, and we went to an area that was called Sesrim Swiss's Vlei, where we overnighted that night. So still incredibly excited about seeing a gemsbok. I was asking the guides, when can we see them? And eventually they said, just be patient, you will still see many of them. So that evening, when I went back to my vehicle where I had my tent on top of the roof to go and have my rest, I got up there, and as I was looking with a full moon night, I had 5 gemsbok coming up a dune slope with a moon that was silhouetting them from behind. That's probably one of my most memorable experiences. I can also think of another experience where my first elephants was seen in the Chobe River, and it was 3 incredibly big bulls that were slowly making their way from the Namibian side towards the Botswana side. And what they were doing is they walked into the water, and as they were progressing through the water, they eventually were so deep into the Chobe River that it's only their trunks that were sticking out, and they were using them like little nostrils or snorkels so that they could actually go through the water. Eventually, when the trunks disappeared underneath the water, a short while after they re-emerged, the trunks up, breathed, and then kept on walking out onto the Botswanan side. Just focusing back on the ROAN, busy having a quick little drink there. So as it's becoming progressively a little bit warmer and warmer, we're going to stay here, come and see what is coming in to come and have a drink. And in the meanwhile, we're going to link you over to Lauren, who is busy following up on a leopard.
She's stationary for a few seconds. I don't imagine this will be for long. She's having a really good sniff at this marula tree. She's gone from marula to marula to marula. You will find leopards up in all sorts of trees, but marulas really are the perfect sleeping tree for a leopard. Really thick, sturdy, straight or angular branches and make it the perfect place to perch your bottom. Maybe not for a human, but at least if you're a leopard. Talamba, can you please jump up this tree and have a little sleep? Oh, there's something very interesting here. I wonder what it is. I think maybe someone had a kill here. She's picking up on old scents. That's why she had to look up the tree. Oh, Phlegm and Grimace. I love her little Phlegm and Grimace. Most mammals do this. She's just trying to get air into her palate, or at least the back of her throat, where the organ of Jacobson is there. It's a vomeronasal organ that contains a lot of chemoreceptors, which can understand the chemical scents that she's inhaling. The receptors will pick them up, and the message, whatever that may be, is relayed to the brain where it can be computed. So she smells something, either another leopard or an old kill. imagine understanding your landscape through scent? I know I talk about it a lot, but it just is such a foreign subject to us. Neo, again, it really depends on the situation. I mean, Kalamba here, she eats a lot and doesn't actually stop. She never lets herself really go without food. But with all predators, it's a life of feast or famine. It depends on the season, it depends on the temperatures, it depends on the prey. Are the prey nutrient deficient? Has it been times of a drought and possibly the prey themselves is not very healthy? So therefore she'll need to eat more. But normally leopards can go a good few days without eating. They're also not completely water dependent. They get a lot of their hydration from kills. You will see them drink water, but they say that in the Kalahari region, leopards can go with about 10 days without drinking water. So they're not completely water dependent. But at the end of the day, they're mammals, and their metabolism is fueled by food. Food is the energy to fuel your own metabolism. Oh, bless you. So you've got to fuel your metabolism in order to maintain your body temperature. All mammals have a constant body temperature, ourselves included. And they need food to fuel that. Whereas reptiles, for example, are the complete opposite. Their metabolism is fueled by ambient temperatures in the sun. And therefore you can go weeks without eating. But mammals are different. So they can go a long time. They're used to the life of feast or famine. But it really depends on the leopard as well. Kalamba's in her prime. She's growing. She's getting ready, most likely, to become a mama soon. Stocking up on all those reserves and just generally making the most of summer. Why waste summer? Very interested in this area, isn't she? Yeah, there was definitely a kill in this tree at some point, I think. I don't know when or how long ago, but I think this marula was the site of a kill. Possibly for Tandy, possibly for Kuchava. Now, scent marking is really important. It's actually the most common method in mammals for occupying your territory rather than vocalizing. And you can probably be a lot more silent if you wish as a leopard, as long as you're scent marking. It is the primary way to advertise and occupy a territory, and that's what she's focusing a lot of energy on right now. Specialized compounds that she will deliver, either through modified sweat glands or modified sebaceous glands, or from urine. And chromatography actually shows us that the material that they release from scent glands contains dozens to hundreds of specific chemical compounds. That's her unique signature. It will be the same compounds found across the board in leopards, but at different ratios. So she'll maybe have a compound A, B, C, D, whereas someone else might have A, B, a different signature. I hope that made sense. But it will be the same compounds across the board, but just arranged differently. And we can actually see that when we use chromatography. If we can collect the scent, if we can collect the sebum in the oil, we can actually analyze it. Not without the help of technology, of course. They're also scent marking because they're primarily nocturnal, so in the dark. Even when it's pitch black, other individuals will still be able to recognize. They won't see the scrapes, they won't see her, they might not even hear her, but they'll know by scent, this is Tlalamba's area. really hoped she was going to go up that marula, but no such luck. Okay, once again, we'll try and keep up with our busy lady. I'm going to send you guys across to another live location.
So our leopard isn't as busy. Actually, there's a bit of movement. So this is a Nyala female. Yeah, I'll try to convince you of that, but you'll just have to trust me on this one. The youngster, her cub, or not so much a cub anymore, the sub-adult, it's also around in this area. Nikki actually found them earlier this morning, and they were on the other side of the Timavati riverbed. We are now on the eastern side of it, and she found quite a thick area, but nice termite mound that she can lie on. Just, yeah, I mean, try spot her in there. I mean, if you, just by looking at the way her belly's moving up and down, her quick breathing, it seems like she might have had something to eat last night. She was breathing rather fast a little bit earlier. But what a perfect spot for a leopard. So we haven't seen a youngster yet, since we've been here. She hasn't moved too much either. So yeah, they spotted her, followed her across the river, and then she decided to settle here. So it's not like someone spotted her in this bush. That would have been quite amazing. Nice to catch up with Nyala female. It's the first time I've seen her, in about 5-6 weeks now. Very pretty leopard. It's been amazing to see how she's almost trying to extend her territory, make it bigger and larger, because her cub is now getting to an age where she'll become independent, and of course, being a female, she'll get part of her mom's territory. So I think the Nyala female is actually making her territory bigger so she can give her cub part of her territory. The only issue with that is the Shitalala female also has a female cub, and she's doing exactly the same. It's not the end of the world for leopard territories to overlap. I think they have the same at Juma. See the ear twitching every now and then, but other than that, not too much movement. She's rather comfortable. So nice and cool in there. And look at that breathing, quite rapid breathing. There's a lot of flies around. As you can see, her ears twitching, trying to keep them away. Beautiful spot pattern. As she gets older, she's looking more and more like her mother, the black dam female. Kayla, I think, asking if all scent marks smell the same. Caleb, so no, it'd be different. Leopards would be able to know the difference between different leopards. I suppose. I think all of them, the urine would smell the same. For them, for humans, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between leopards. I've never met a human that can. But then a leopard urine wouldn't smell the same as a lion's urine, or rhino urine, or elephant urine, for that mark. Not that elephant scent mark, but anything else that's territorial, like lions or leopards. I can't imagine their smell would be the same. So if you're asking in terms of different leopards having different scents, yes, but humans wouldn't be able to tell. But leopards would know the difference in the scent. By the way, Tom, if you're still watching, we had a look at it in the book, and it turns out an ostrich runs at 70 kilometers an hour. And the top speed of a horse, and I take it it's a racing horse, it's about 88 kilometers an hour. Funny enough, a zebra is slower than an ostrich, and it only goes to about 68. But yeah, we're going to sit here for a while, see if anything changes, see if we can see the cub. But hopefully she moves or comes towards her mother.
Welcome back, everyone. So we So on our search, we were looking for tracking the wild dogs, and we couldn't find them. Instead, we bump on the Hokumura coming out of the west. There, the feed for me was a little difficult. We're trying to keep up with him, but he wasn't static. And then he was behind Tingana the leopard as well. And we seen both of them together, but they were chasing each other very fast across into one of the drainage line where we couldn't able to get in there. So now we actually stopping here with those impalas, hoping either one of them will run back this way, and so that we can able to get a visual for everyone. So sometimes when we were going after them, they were always, going parallel along the drainage line, where it's actually very difficult to maintain the signal out here in the bush. But anyway, the impalas, they all group up together because they've seen them, and they seems to be well aware now that any time that leopard can return back to them. And this is not actually a hunting technique for both of these cats, because now they're pushing one another, and more likely that Tingana looks like he's always the one that has been pushed all the time since we saw that happen there. So I'm going to spend another time here to see if we got luck of one of those leopards come out back to us again for everyone to get to see.
So there's a slight bit of movement every now and then, and it's mostly due to flies, like horseflies biting her. But other than that, not too much. You can see she actually dipped her head a little bit more and straightened her body out just a bit. But I think she found her spot for the day. I don't think she'll be moving at all. Of course, it's, like I said earlier, a very nice spot. I mean, very secretive. Nothing can see her from above. And the only reason why you know she's here is because we followed her into this bush. A good spot. Very, very good spot. Saw no sign of the youngster. It could be that the youngster's actually on the other side of her, also just lying on the same termite mound. But quite a shy little female, the Inyala female's youngster. But it's the same thing with the Inyala female. Strangely enough, her and her brother, when they grew up, the brother was a more outgoing, adventurous, and less shy one, but you often find it with siblings. You always find the feisty and more relaxed one, and then the shy one. Kind of wish that it was the other way around, because the brother ended up leaving the property, and then Inyala female got a part of her mom's territory and stayed. So it's been interesting to see her movement. We haven't seen her too much, but she's been rasping a lot, and mostly this is due to the Tambuti male being gone off the property. So she's been kind of advertising she's nearly ready to mate and is calling a new mate into the area. So what's happened in leopard dynamics on Ingala is that we have a new male leopard, large male, that honestly no one's been able to photograph or actually even see for long, a split second, that's moved into the area. But now, being a new male leopard, he's not the father of Makoti male, and he's not the father of Shitsalala young male. So Makoti male, we haven't found tracks of him for a very long time. So he's probably been kicked out, and I think rather soon, even the Shitsalala will end up leaving. So we're having a bit of an issue with relaxed leopards on Ingala. Saying this, though, it always works out for us. I'm not really too worried. But I'd love to get a photo of the new big male leopard, just see what he looks like. Also, no idea where he came from. People asking, do I have a favorite leopard on Ingala? Probably, I'd say the Tatsimoto young male. It was quite fun watching him grow up. He's got blue eyes, rather large male. Now, mostly in the west, if he's still in the area, his father's quite a large male leopard. We call mandleve, or half-eared male. But I'd say Twasimotso young male, he's, the only reason he was relaxed is because the Birmingham Pride, they were denning far in the west, and so we used to drive that road and the riverbed quite often. And so he would see us, and then he got curious about vehicles, so he would stalk up to a termite mound to watch us drive past. And then as you stop, he would just sit on the termite mound and just watch you curiously, whereas his sister, not relaxed at all. So again, it's just that it's weird that you spend the same amount of time in the same area with two siblings, and one would be habituated and the other one wouldn't. Yeah, Twasimotso young now, he grew up to be a beautiful leopard, and I think we'll probably see less and less of him as well as he gets older. Thanks, Sipho. Definitely a blue-eyed male leopard being my favorite. I must say, before that, probably this female's mother, the black dam female. It's quite nice to follow. There we go, a bit of movement. You can see she's being bitten by flies. That's why she's trying to almost eat her paw. And there are a lot of flies, especially after the amount of rain we just had. They are everywhere, even biting BK and myself every now and then. Commitment to the job. Yeah, but I don't think this female is going anywhere anytime soon. I think she's very, very happy where she is. Laura is asking if both males and female leopard hunt. Laura, absolutely. They are solitary animals a majority of the time. So the only reason you'll see 2 leopards or 3 leopards or 4 leopards together really is when a female has cubs or when they are mating. But for that reason, because they are solitary animals, both sexes have to hunt for themselves, and they're phenomenal hunters, really. Leopards are just great survivors. So they are known as ambush predators. So they'll try to sneak up to their prey as close as they possibly can, and then use an incredible amount of speed to try to jump on their prey. So I think leopards can move up to 24 meters per second. So yeah, that's how they hunt. And mostly at night, they are known to be nocturnal hunters. But then saying that, I mean, any cat will use any opportunity to hunt. So even where she is now, it is so thick that I don't think anything that walks past this termite mound wouldn't really know she's there. So if we had an impala or duiker or a steenbok or anything small walk past now, she would definitely use that opportunity to hunt. Which is both sexes will have to hunt for themselves. And this would be a good area for her. Oh, there we go. Finally, the head is up a little bit. There she is. Beautiful. And back to sleep. Right, we are still going to sit here for a little while. Actually, we might drive around and see if her youngsters are on the other side. And while we do that, we're going to send you to Andrew. He's got a few impala.
Thanks, ROAN. So we're also trying to do the same here, sticking with impalas, just to see what's going to happen finally. Even now that I know for sure it's not actually hunting time for these both cats. It's all about pushing one another. It's all about territorial dominancy for now. But if they see anything they're not sure about, they're probably going to make a calls. And I'm in a boundary where and Tingana was left and in this area, but run across immediately again. So we believe if this chasing one another still going for a while, eventually they'll cross back here, where the other cars are standing by far, where if there's anything happened, they will let us know, and we're going to respond to it. And it was also amazing what we saw back there. And they're trekking the whole bunch of wild dogs. And the minute you look, one turn, it was Hukumuri, right? Walk past the vehicle immediately, and then we're trying to follow him just off-road. And the last moment was a Tingana running in front of him. This is where we couldn't actually manage to keep up with them so much. But yeah, it's quite a lot of food here for the leopards. All these babies impalas. Pillarary. So if it's a chance for leopard, would really definitely gonna smell. If it's a chance of the wind blowing towards this animal from the direction of a cat, they're very good on sense of smell. They're probably gonna pick up that smell, and then for sure they will be worried or they will get out here immediately. But for now, you know, it looks like even though the wind blowing from the north to the south, it's probably maybe they're on the wrong direction, maybe slightly east of here, or could be maybe way far into that drainage line, or we didn't actually hear any growl. So usually whenever the fight, and if it's the fight, serious fight take place, is there. When a fight, and you hear a lot of a noise going on, but it's probably maybe the fight was happening all the time they were together up there. Probably the whole night they were pushing one another, because Tingana, the last time we will look for him, and then we heard that Kumuri went back west, and then Tingana got into Juma where we couldn't find him. But I believe that's where he was not 100% sure if the fight is going to be over that time. Maybe he went back, do the challenge again until today. And the challenge like this is going to be going on and on, because both are full, they're all full growing and they're all strong. We managed to then depend on the power, which one still had the power enough to be able to do that. Fighting for leopard sometimes results of one get very serious bad injury or limp. Maybe we know Hukumuri's got a blind eye. It's probably from either a fight for territory, where males that do a lot of these fights. Now it's very dead quiet over here, chilling with the beautiful impalas, and they're all probably trying to forget what they've seen for the last time. And their life is going to go back to normal. They're able to do their activity of the day, but haven't stopped checking out since they're in the group. Help each other well. Some will eat, some will listen, some will look around. Lerato. So you want to know how many lambs would they have on their lifetime? So impala only live up to about, if they're lucky, 14, 15 years, sometimes 12. So depend where they are and the success rate in terms of breeding. They're only also, a set time breeder animal. They don't breed all year round. So that's a very good question there. They may sometimes end up with probably 7 offspring, maybe 8 offspring. They only started to breed when they're anything from 3.5 years, the females. And that's where they started to breed. So sometimes 7 offspring, maybe 6 downwards. They're so beautiful looking on this marking they have on their back. You know, looking at these black marking, which they look like a McDonald's, where they named them. So we can take a moment of a silence here with this animal, see how they're doing. The sunshine. So you want to know how far impala can run? They're actually fast. So anything 65, 70 kilometer per hour, which that still doesn't make them to survive or run away from their predators very quickly. So in that speed, when they keep up to maybe 60, 65 upwards, is when they, whatever it is, closer enough for them to get away. They need to start with high speed. They can lower their speed as they run. This is when they get tired, down to anything from 40, 30. And for example, when they're chased by wild dogs, they can run fast, but wild dogs, they're one of these animals that don't actually stop chasing. Sure, it's one of the lamb. Just joined the group over here. Now where it was separated from. So the noises that you heard is probably that all the females are trying to communicate with their babies. And it's so amazing animal because they all look the same, but each female will be able to identify her own baby. Well, this time most of the female, they have their babies with them. But that way, that's why when a female gives birth, she isolates herself away for few weeks until the young one will be able to recognize the mother's smell. And then from there she will return back to the herd. So that you see all young ones get around, run around, but each mother, when she's able to look or contact her own baby, and she will be able to sniff on anyone around, she'll pick one for herself that she knows it's belonged to her. So it's always no mistake of letting the other babies drink from the other one. That is not actually, I never heard of cross-suckle for this animal. No, it happens for pride of line when they're all family. Also on the elephant as well. At the time they may get tired of moving around, where they will settle down and need a very open space. When now here it's not bad. On the other side there's a road. Now there's all cars driving past every now and then because we're still in the area where we believe this leopard may pop out again from. So they'll lay down but when they do that, everyone has a job. And everyone will face different way when they do that while they're chewing their cud. So I'm also going to take a drive here, east and back west again, to see what happened along this boundary.
It just pretended to be dead. Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I handle this? That is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Welcome back to and beyond Pin Day, everyone. After quite a long wait, we managed to get ourselves our vehicle sorted out. We had to get the workshop to bring us a new battery because that other one has unfortunately died. So we lost the Leopard, unfortunately, but we're back up and running, and we've come out to an area where we've been seeing some elephant bulls, and we have spotted 2 of them. And Owen is just doing a very good job of scanning the little drainage line that they've gone into. And they were sort of up on that ridge at the back, and they've come down towards the valley. The wind has started to pick up a little bit, so I think what they're doing is it's going to disappear. I'm going to quickly go back a little bit just to prove to you guys that we're not making this up. There are elephants here. It's gone. Oh yeah, can you see him there in the shade? Yeah. Oh, and he's having a nice scratching behind his ear. I think that they have it's 2 bulls that we've spotted, and they've just gone down into this little drainage line to get out of the wind. And you can imagine with those big ears, the noise that wind will create on those ears. So for now, I mean, I don't think our view is going to get much better. The area that they're going into is actually going to be getting worse. So I'm going to send you across to JP with an antelope of some sort.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We just left Waterhole a short while ago as things were becoming really, really warm, and on our way back we just found these gemsbok that's busy resting in the shade. So as we've mentioned in one of the previous editions, that gemsbok is probably one of the best adapted animals when it comes to extreme heat. They're already moving into the shade. We're just going to see if we can reposition and find another view of them. There we go. There we go. It seems that they've gone to rest over there. And they're moving away from us. Just to mention again some of the adaptations that they have. They've got a mechanism which is in the nasal cavity, which is a counter current mechanism which actually cools down blood that comes from the nasal passage that's moving towards the brain to prevent that their hypothalamus can overheat. So one of the other strategies that they also have is that they can stand in direct sun for quite a while. And unlike most animals, which has a limit at roughly 38 degrees Celsius, which is their average body temperature, and it's normally 37.5, and most animals can push up their body temperatures to 2 degrees below or above that point. These guys can push up their body temperatures right up to 45 degrees Celsius, which is quite a phenomenal feat. When it becomes extremely hot, they do move into the shade. And this one is shading himself underneath a camel thorn. and it's believed that they can be up to a 60% effective in terms of conserving energy by simply just moving into the shade. We often find that the camel thorn trees within the Kalahari is quite often a savior for many animal, as it's one of the very few tree species which also provides a shade. However, one of the species of ticks which we find in the Kalahari is a soft tick, unlike the hard ticks which we predominantly find to the eastern half of South Africa. These are known as tampans. They quite often will hide underneath these trees in the shade, knowing that animals will come and rest in the shade. Eventually, when these animals are lying down, they respond to the carbon dioxide which is released from their bodies, and then start focusing on feeding off these animals. We've just lost these gemsbok. They've now moved off.
Well, we lost our other leopards, so I found you this leopard. Ancelia africana, the leopard orchid. Marcel's going to zoom in and give you a lovely view of the blooming flowers. Yellow, sometimes spotted, laying around lazily on branches, just like a leopard. Now, I'm not going to show my face while I say this, but we had a little accident. Once again, Klalamba 3, Lauren 0. We headed straight into a ditch and, well, yes, Marcel rescued us and got us out. But it wasn't fun and it wasn't easy, and that's all we'll say on the matter. So the leopard orchid is the largest orchid of all the sort of orchid species found in South Africa. And it's an epiphyte. So if Marcel zooms out, what you'll see is it's actually positioned on this tree here, this dead tree. Now, epiphytic means that it's growing on another plant, but it's not actually taking any nutrients from them, so it's not parasitic. It's not a mutually symbiotic relationship because the tree's not benefiting from this plant sort of positioning itself on the branches. But the plant's benefiting, but it's not leaching or taking anything from it. It basically needs to anchor its roots. So it needs to do that in a tree because it's got aerial roots, and that's what it means to be an epiphyte. So it's using the tree for support and access, but it's not stealing any food or nutrition or water from the tree itself. And that's why you find these leopard orchids in a tree, and we call them epiphytes. They're absolutely beautiful, and although the sky's very overcast, the sort of little sparkles of yellow, like little yellow stars, stand out. And hawk moths, believe it or not, that are primarily nocturnal, we don't see them active too much during the day, they're really attracted to the sweetly scented flowers. I can't smell them from here, but they apparently are very sweet, and the hawk moths will be the pollinators. And therefore they help the survival of this epiphyte. They also have quite a special relationship with ants, leopard orchids, because they secrete nectar, but it's not said to come from the flowers, and lots of ants drink this nectar. So in return for the sugar, the ants actually help protect the plant from other insects. Some of these leopard orchids can be swimming with ants, and they offer some form of protection in return for this delicious nectar. Vervet monkeys love them too. They eat the seeds and the canes, and they actually disperse the seeds. So as well as hawk moths pollinating them, the vervet monkeys will disperse the seeds through their feces. Benji, you will find them on trees that are alive as well, but once again, they are epiphytic. And what that what that means is they don't actually require the tree. So it's probably easier to sort of start growing on a dead tree. You're just needing it for your aerial roots, support, an access. You're not actually requiring anything else from the tree. And believe it or not, the reason they get from tree to tree, I was just mentioning, is thought to be from the monkeys' dispersal, from their pellets, and that's how the sort of seeds are actually dispersed, and that's how they end up there. But whether the tree is alive or whether it's dead, they're not actually taking anything from the tree. They don't need anything from the tree. They just need those branches. That's probably why it's easier to set up shop in a tree that's dead rather than alive. So I just wanted to show you this beautiful, since I lost my other leopard. She's very busy, Miss Tlalamba. She's still very mobile when we lost her. And, well, you know, we got stuck, but that's another story for another day. I have broke many a steering rods due to Miss Tlalamba. Or it's due to myself following Tlalamba. That's how I learned what a steering rod was in the first place. Do you remember that day, Marcel?
Yes.
Marcel had to come and rescue me and teach me what is a steering rod and what is the purpose and why I should not crash. Yes. I don't know if you heard that, but Marcel said it's the first time in his life he's ever seen a steering rod completely sheared off the car. Lauren and Tlalamba, it's not a great combination, but you know, we had her for long enough, and I'm sure Andrew's updated you already, but Hukamuri and Tingana are on the property as well. I knew Tingana was around, and they've not been found. They're still looking for them, but it gives us great prospects for this afternoon. There's also dogs at Hartlepool, but unfortunately we are just too far out. So Tlalamba crossed into Torchwood at the Leadwood Junction, directly opposite, and she just continued mobile. But she didn't go too deep into Torchwood. She will absolutely know that that is her mother's territory. But she was furiously scent marking. And then this is how it works with leopards. So they have their territories, but they will constantly push and pull. If Tandy, for example, is maybe not been on the western side of her territory for a while, Tlalamba could easily try and push in. But then when Tandy comes back, she'll push back. And I'm not talking about physically pushing. I'm talking about through scent marking. So Tandy could easily come and scent mark all over where Tlalamba has just marked. And they're trying to push. It's a territorial boundary, and I think that's exactly where Tlalamba was. She was on the boundary today. But she's got lots of leopardesses around her. Shadulu, Luna, but although I'm not sure of Luna's movements or anything like that, we don't see her enough. Tandy, Kuchava, Sabui. Lots of female leopardesses all surrounding Tlalamba, and they all fit into this wonderful sort of territorial jigsaw. Now, Kuchava normally is to the east in Torchwood, but we have seen her on Cheetah Cut Line. She does come into Cheetah Cut Line. Sorry, one more time, Gwen. We're having real issues with our comms today. Angie, not at all. They're completely separate, individual, independent leopards. They don't interact. She's reached independence. She's now a territorial female and technically a competitor. You won't find much aggression between them. You'll find sort of physical things like panting and sort of lots of saliva drooling from the mouth and stare downs and maybe snarls, but it's very rare for two females that are related to really physically interact. Females can physically fight, but it's quite rare when it comes to relatives. Now, if you're a female dominant territorial leopard, it's more advantageous to, oh dear, the elephants have been at work here. It's more advantageous to have your offspring surrounding you as your competitors. It's more advantageous to have Kuchava on the east, Tlalamba on the west, because you're related to them. Yes, they're competitors, but at the end of the day, it's still your bloodline, it's still your offspring. Than it be strangers, than it be Shadulu or Nkanyeni. So they will meet. I think Tristan had Tandy and Kuchava not too long ago, and they won't be overly thrilled to meet, but it's very rare to see aggression. But no, the mother will not come in at this stage. Tlalamba's territorial. She's on her own. Pushed to independence at around 18 months. She'll know Tandy's scent, absolutely. She'll completely be aware of where her mother is at all times when she's in the same area, but no, they won't interact, they won't care for one another or anything like that. And what that actually means, sorry, I was just checking this, I've found Tingana in this bush quite a few times. What that actually means is Tandy's done a good job. That's why she snarls and she starts to act a little bit aggressive once her female cub gets older. She's pushing her, she's saying, go now, go into the world, I can't protect you any longer. There's a little section of my territory, it's yours. And the fact that Tlalamba has turned into such a fantastic territorial female, it means that Tandy's done her job. They don't need to interact. They're solitary, they can't rely on one another. Tlalamba can't rely on Tandy, it's not how it works in a leopard social structure, I'm afraid. If a mother did not prepare, lots of hyena tracks, her offspring for a solitary life, then they'll never survive. So yes, she rears and raises her offspring, and the males do leave a little bit later, but that's why you'll find, let's just use Tandy as an example, she leaves her son alone a lot because it's preparation. Maybe not consciously so, but it's preparation for a solitary life, a solitary existence. You need to learn to be on your own. Mama can't constantly smother you, really. So Tandy did an incredible job with Tlalamba. And definitely, if every time Tlalamba was sick, Tandy cared for her, it would not encourage any leopard to be successful out here. Wow, elephants, you have really been to work here. I don't actually know which direction Hukumuri went in, but we're just checking the west in case there's any signs of him. It's interesting that Tingana and him are both seen in the same area again. This is the second time in 1 week Hukumuri and Tingana have been seen in the same area. Now, since I'm not finding anything, FC asked me some questions. Let's get into a discussion. We're not having much luck on this side of the world. A butterfly. Will they stay still for us, Marcel? Highly unlikely. It's starting to warm up. They're probably solar powered. Nope, no such luck. Using the warmth from the morning. Sorry, I can just see all these insects buzzing about. I don't think any of them are going to settle, though. There's no fresh dung here. They're not here for the dung, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm going to keep searching around this area in case there's any signs of spots, but let's go across to Andrew and see how he's getting on.
Thanks, Lauren. So I'm still on a look here. A possible chance that it was an update, but I think Tingana was seen. But it's actually not great for us to be there due to the, I think, low signal, the area where they saw him, and then looks like they say that he picked up a carcass. So maybe this is not all about now. They probably maybe separate from one another. So, and if it's not the case, then maybe Hukumuri will make his way back south again.
Can I join you there, buddy?
But the guys will let us know what's happening that side. If he ever goes to the place that I know for sure we can get everybody to have a look, we're gonna go there again. So the reason I'm checking this far is because of, they move so much, especially when they track one another. It happens maybe Hukumuri lost Tingana's scent, where you probably maybe move different way, hoping to find him again around, and then that's going to be probably take him to go to places where you might maybe call it a day, a rest, or carry on again, look. Because this is all about that Tingana has to get out of his territory, or this is actually Tingana territory, so he might actually maybe losing it right now due to this challenge he's facing. But he's stronger Tingana, so for him going back west again is that he's not actually letting it go, so he's pushing it to head it back to him again, the property, since it's him. But this is going to happen quite a lot, or it's happening a lot to leopards, where they shift. When there is a dominant take place, is you find the 3 leopards want to dominate in an area where their Hosana may give problem to Hukumuri, and then Hukumuri may give problem, like what we've seen now, pushing Tingana this way. So this could have happened as well. So we had also Mlowathi, the male, which he was sighted. I think that was in RATTRAY the other day, and the report says that there were 3 together, and or that it was a time Tingana and Hukumuri, they were fighting. So it happened, Mlowathi appear in that area and push them all. Looks like for now I would say he's the strongest Mlowathi, I believe, according to the guys that witnessed the fight, and it looks like he's the one that came in and Brad. So the females fight, it's actually less than the males do, and it's not actually strictly fight. They're trying to respect one another's territory, but if it comes to a point where one shows a lot weaker, that's going to be a fatal fight. So one will get out very serious injured. But if they all show strength, they would tend to avoid one another, and from there they will understand the boundary situation that is occupied and the way it's not occupied. But for a male, because the males are, territorial, for a male it's all about a woman, where for leopards, for female leopard, she can dominate by one male, but maybe few female. That's why it's maybe sometimes reasonable when it's not strictly strong fight, because one male can dominate 3-4 females within an area of his operational territorial. So it's not necessary for female to actually able to fight so much and then cause the death. If it's necessary, it takes place due to the weakest, or maybe that leopard cannot move anymore, fight or from injured, that she cannot actually even kill herself to feed, able to carry on with its own life. So I seen a growl between the two females where it didn't actually take long. And then all they do was just, getting low on the ground, and the growl, salivating happened there. So this is to show, this is my boundary line. There is yours. So every time they meet in a boundary, it's this kind of like behavior, growl, and it's always all about growl. And then every time sent over another female scent mark along the boundary line. So would both do that. But that's where the boundary line comes in end between these two cats. But for Kumuri, but then for look at the elephant! Simon, look at that. Look at this, everyone. So finally, we got elephant that is actually feeding right now. Look like this is one of those young males which they just maybe about to be separate from their mother. Anyway, look at him. Easily to put him around maybe 13 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, somewhere there. And at this stage, we're looking at his size, he would be able to survive. It happens that the other member not far away from here, or their mother is not far from here, because this age, those of the young male, they still keep behind their mother. So I'm going to take another moment here to look at these elephants, see what he's doing. Then I'm going to be sending you over to JP with this tree.
Welcome back to Swallow. We've just been driving around and it came to mind that I was asked a question a few days ago. What is my favorite trees? So there's a number of different trees that I really like in the Kalahari. One of them is a shepherd's tree, the other camel thorn, and then probably the most handy of all trees that we have in the Kalahari. This is a velvet raisin, or also known as a brandy bush. I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about why they're so handy. So firstly, when it comes to the sand hunter-gatherers, they actually like using the very straight stems for sticks that they can use for making friction, fire by means of friction. The second reason what they like this specific tree for is that they take long straight stems for the making of their bows. So these bows are often then cured and their wood is rubbed in with oil until that they become a little bit more flexible. Quite often the sinew of animals are used as a string. Another purpose for this plant, what they also will use for several lengths of this, and then they'll add a sharp little steenbok horn or sharp piece of bone to the edge of that, and that will be used for pulling out spring hairs from burrows. Then the fruit itself is also edible. It's often mixed by the Tswana people with brown locust, which also got a very high protein yield. In some parts of South Africa, the fruit is also used by women where they will make a refreshing drink from it, which will re-energize them after they have given birth. The fruit itself, it can also be made into a brandy, hence the name brandy bush, and the fruit is then distilled, and that distilled alcohol is often known as mampur in South Africa, and can have alcohol contents as high as 80 to 90% alcohol volume. From here, we're going to slowly see what else we can find. Seeing it's got incredibly warm and very early already this morning, most of the animals have already retired. And let's go and see if we can find something interesting.
We now have 2 male water bucks on quarantine. We've got the one that's chewing the cud, having a great time ruminating, the specialised stomach, and the other male's just off in the distance there. Our quarantine's really not far away from Gowrie Dam. So there's definitely one male at Gowrie Dam that really is the dominant bull in that area. And by chewing the cud, it's a special form of digestion because cellulose is not easy to break down. Humans really can't do it. So there's a sort of myth that ruminants have 4 stomachs, and they don't. They have 1 stomach, but it's designed differently. It's got 4 specialised pouches. And these pouches are the reticulum, the omasum, the abomasum, and the rumen. And each pouch has a different function in order to help the animals break down the vegetation, which contains a lot of cellulose. And it ends up coming up again, and they continue to chew into break down, and it will once again go back into the stomach. But I always think it makes them look like they're chewing gum like a teenager. But they're not. It's a really important part of their digestion to chew the cud. Break it down again, send it back into the stomach to go through a whirlwind of processes with specialised pouches designed just to do that. So we're going to sit on quarantine a little bit longer and see what else we can find.
So we still have our young bull elephant over here. He's still wandering around, feeding in this shadow, but now he's going to move slowly. And it's quite a lot of green around here. And what we were just hoping to listen or heard, it was that maybe the other herd could be around here, but there's not such a communication. Wherever they are, he knows. Because they communicate, and that's where you would be able to know where the other member is. At this age, they're already getting used to be alone or with another member of male out there. So he's just moving away because he knows that the grass or the ground is very wet. We won't follow him, but he's following wherever it's greater feeding area for him. It's quite a lot of grasses, but he would be able to choose which grasses he would prefer. It's a lot of different species of grasses, as much as a lot of different species of trees. So every wet season like this, all animals, the herbivores animals, more especially, they have their own time. Whenever they want, they can just move far enough. They can choose an area of grazing for a day where they haven't been in a long time. Emma, you want to know the elephant's favorite fruit? I know we don't have a melon here, a wild melon, or any melon. Orange does. But if you were to give orange or melon to the elephant, and if you ever have kind of like places where you have plowing a lot of these fruits, or then you would have a problem with elephants coming in every time. So, but out in the wild, it's marulas for now, where they're wild everywhere. You know, there's a season of this fruit which are ripe, you know, and now flavor or smell coming out of those. For this animal, they were able to sense or how far the tree is, or they even know where are those trees that are actually sweet for them once there is fruit ripe, because they've been operating in this area for quite a long time. So they know their route, they know the way to get into those trees. The only problem they come across, I think I had another communication of the other member, I think, way in the bush. Like I said, it happens. Probably not the only animals, probably the rest far somewhere else. The only problem during this fruit, marula fruit, is that, you know, all the animals, we have a lot of different herds competing for the same fruit. For maybe same trees, they may visit that trees. You find the other member of elephants has been maybe not long ago, then there's no fruits that is available for them at that given time. They need to move somewhere else, different tree. So it's quite a lot of movement. Whenever they find these trees, all, you know, fruits falling off of their marula trees, and they all just get around, spend their own time using the trunk. So they pick one by one, two sometimes, if they were able to grab those using this clip on the end of the trunk, which, you know, it makes expend a lot of time to collect much as they want, because it's like a lychee size. Some of those fruits are so small. So I just want to take this time to thank everybody for joining us for a morning drive this morning, and I believe this afternoon is going to be another great day for everyone to be able to enjoy. So wherever you are, stay safe until we meet again this afternoon. Goodbye.
This program features live coverage of an African safari.